evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I always wanted to enter to that music. I never get to come up on the stage. My name is John Phelan. I am the show director for the Osbourne family spectacle of Dancing Lights. And tonight, we're going to give you a behind-the-scenes look or story about how this kind of incredible display made it here to Walt Disney World and to Disney's Hollywood Studios. Now, forgive me because I'm going to kind of tell a long story here, but I think it's pretty interesting. So it kind of gives you the backstory on how these lights got here. Then we're going to turn the display on, we'll let them dance once. Then I'm going to bring the crew chief up here, and we're going to talk about how we install this and what it takes. And we're going to open it up for questions, and then after that we're going to let you wander the display. We'll play all the dancing songs for you. The crew will be out here to answer questions. I'll roam the street if anybody wants to ask any questions. Okay? So, this all started way back. Well, let me go all the way back to the beginning. 1984, that's when I came to work at Walt Disney World. And I moved down here from Washington, D.C. I actually was going to be a great Shakespearean actor. That was my original focus. And I had got a Master of Fine Arts, and I was trying to work my way through being an actor in Washington, D.C., and I had become a stage manager with Actors Equity, working some professional small theaters there. And what always happens to, entertainment type people, sometimes I fell in love, I got married, I had a child, and I wasn't making any money. I had no benefits, I didn't have anything. So a good friend of mine who I went to grad school with called me up one day. I kind of lost touch with him, and he said, you know what, I'm down here at Walt Disney World working as a stage manager. And they need stage managers down here, and I thought of you. I told you, it's going to be a long story. So, long story, make it short here, I ended up coming out for an interview. I got a job. I'm originally from New Jersey. I went to college in Boston. I went to grad school in Washington, D.C. And I'm a Northeast Coast kind of guy. My wife is from Washington, D.C. We said, we'll come to Florida, we'll live there for a couple of years. But we don't want to live there our whole life. We're not Floridians. Obviously, 25 years later, we're still here. I just celebrated my 25th anniversary with the company. Thank you. Thank you very much. And 2 more children later. I have 3 kids. The last one's graduating from college this year. So the company, obviously, Walt Disney and the Walt Disney Company has been extremely good to me. I've enjoyed, obviously, every single minute that I've been here. It's been terrific. I started in the Magic Kingdom. I worked conventions over in the Contemporary Hotel. And then I had the great fortune to come over here to Disney's Hollywood Studios. And as you all know, originally called Disney MGM Studios. I got to come here in 1988, 10 months before the park even opened. I remember standing on Hollywood Boulevard when it was still dirt. And I was the area manager for entertainment. I got to hire all the stage managers and the technical crew that got to open the park. And I was involved with the Indiana Jones show and, Streetosphere, the great actors that are on Hollywood Boulevard, all the shows that were here. And I started with the help of a lot of the food and beverage people here at the studio, the convention business we started to do here at the studio. We still do great parties here on New York Street, and of course you all remember Residential Street, which is where Lights Motors Action is. We used to do great parties out on Residential Street, and I helped develop the creative all those type of stuff. So, okay, comes to be 1994. And I get called into Bob Lamb's office, who was the vice president of Hollywood Studios at that time. And he said, John, we're starting a new department over in marketing, and I want you to go be the studio representative. And I was like, marketing? I'm not a marketing guy. He goes, yes, but this job is called Program Development Manager, and your job is going to be to try to develop special events that will attract people to come to the studio for big signature events. Epcot had started doing the wine and food, their wine and food festival, that type of stuff. We wanted to develop some stuff in the studio. So I said, okay. Obviously, he said, and if you don't go to the marketing job, the Magic Kingdom wants you back, and I'll have to send you back over to the Magic Kingdom in entertainment. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the Magic Kingdom, but my heart was at the studio. So I said, I'll go do the marketing job. So, now it comes to be 1995, because that happened at the end of 94. So my job was trying to create signature events for the studio. I created, or helped create, actually was the initial one to create Super Soap Weekend. We also did an animation celebration that didn't actually last more than 1 year, unfortunately. And we were trying to think of a signature event for Christmas, for the holiday season here at the studio. And I was in a staff meeting one day, and this was in late June of 1995. And Bruce LaValle, if I don't know if any of you remember who Bruce LaValle was, used to be an executive vice president here at the Parks. He was an industrial engineer. Bruce had a very analytical mind. Actually, he was the original vice president of the studio. And Bruce was very detail-oriented, but he also had this, and if you ever met Bruce, he was very quiet, very straightforward, and like I say, he was a numbers man. But the one thing I got to say about Bruce is Bruce always thought, as they say, way out of the box. And he loved to be creative. And at this staff meeting, my boss said to me, I got a call from Bruce LaValle, and he saw on CNN last night, there was a story right at the very end of CNN's news report on headline news about this businessman in Little Rock, Arkansas, who had this incredible Christmas lights display, but his neighbors had taken him to court, and he had appealed it all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, but the U.S. Supreme Court said it wasn't going to hear the case, and now he had to turn off this incredible, gigantic Christmas lights display, and he just said off the cuff to my boss, Shelley, you know what, we should call him up and ask him if he'd like to bring his lights to Disney, and we'll put them on Residential Street. So, of course, Shelley, my boss, turned to me and said, okay, John, find this guy, call him up, and ask him if he'd like to do it. So that's how it all began. I actually found the phone number of Jennings Osbourne. He had his own business down in Little Rock, Arkansas. You know, oddly enough, not oddly, but he is a private business called the Arkansas Research Medical Testing Center. Okay, so, you know, he's got a nice website. You can go on there and find the, you know, the Osbourne family website. And what that was, you know, he had a 200-bed facility, and he would run pharmaceutical tests for new drugs that were coming out, like Claritin and things like that. And he had done very well. He had become a very well-to-do businessman in Little Rock, Arkansas, and he had put up this gigantic Christmas lights display at his house. I didn't know too much about it. Anyway, so, I'm not boring you all, am I? Oh. Okay, so, I'm about ready to go on vacation. I'm telling you that this is really what happened. I'm about ready to go on vacation. Shelley's asking me every other day, did you get a hold of that guy? Did you get a hold of that guy? And I'm like, no, I haven't made the call yet. So it's the day before I got to go on a 2-week vacation. I said, I have to call before I go on vacation. So I called the number, and I get, you know, Arkansas Research Medical Testing Center. And I said, hi, this is John Phelan. I'm calling from Disney World down in Florida, and I'd like to talk to Mr. Osbourne. And there was a pause on the phone, and then the receptionist said, concerning what? And I said, I would like to talk to him about his Christmas lights display. 1 moment, please. Wait on hold for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and the next thing I hear is, hello? And it was, if you ever met Jennings or hear him talk, he's a very quiet man. He's very subdued. You wouldn't think with this big, gigantic display, but his personality doesn't match the grandeur of what he does. So anyway, I said, Mr. Osbourne, this is John Phelan from Walt Disney World, and I wanted to talk to you about your Christmas lights display. We would like to invite you, if it all works out, to bring your lights down to Walt Disney World, and we want to put them on Residential Street, Disney's MGM Studios. And he was like, oh, well, that's very interesting. You know, I've had a lot of requests for my lights, and I'll tell you what, put it in a letter to my attorney. He handles all my stuff. Write him a letter explaining exactly what it is you want to do, and you know, I'll get back to you. I was like,